Reconvene the public session. I'm going to ask the city attorney to report out from closed session.
Madam Mayor,
please.
no reportable action.
Perfect. Thank you. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comments this afternoon?
We do. We have one written communication, which I left a copy for everyone and some in the back for the public. And we also have one speaker card, Mr. Bill Naylor.
Thank you. Mr. Naylor?
I actually asked to speak on during the workshop, but okay. But on the projects of budgeting. I really want to compliment council. I've been attending several of the workshops that you guys have had on budget, and you've had some real insight into some of the questions that needed to be asked to staff about some of the projects that are going on. I agree with most of what you've said, and I think you really are going to have to really look really closely at this year's budget. Last year, I was very surprised that we did come out in the deficit as much as we did. I knew we went into it going in looking at a deficit, but I was really surprised to see that we had to make as much of a transfer as we did. I think Greg there had asked some real strong, good questions about different areas, and I thought they were good. I think it's gonna be really hard to cut in fire and police, or fire and sheriffs, I know, but general city you may have to really look at. I know that several of you guys were in here a number of years ago when the city had to take such severe cuts, and I'm afraid you might have to start looking at that again. I hate to think of it because we've got such great programs here in the city, but we may have to look at it. I do not think the community is going to be much willing to take any additional tax increases or major fee increases. I agree with Robin on the thought of the transient tax. I think that would be one thing that could get through. But I think we need to be real careful. I'm going to get yelled at, I know, but we have in the budget here for tonight, you're going to be discussing master plan for Ingalls. I've been hollering for a master plan for years from Ingalls. I thought it was part of the overall park master plan, which it was not. And I'm really disappointed in the park master plan because we have yet to get any report back, and that's been going on for quite some time. The park for the Ingalls, I think, in talking to some people on council and outside, that maybe we don't need to spend $500,000 on a master plan for that. We could probably do it in-house with the community getting involved. Those are just some of the things I thought I'd bring to your attention. But again, think about, we don't want additional taxes, and we want to maybe bring down some of our services. I hate to do that, but I think maybe that's going to be necessary. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, there are no more speaker cards.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Bill, for your comments for the workshop. At this time, we're going to go ahead and go into our workshop on operating and the CIP budget. Who's up? Josh, are you up? Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, council members. This afternoon, we'll be discussing the preliminary budget for the capital improvement program for fiscal years 2027 through 2031. So this will be for a 5-year increment. This will be how we'll be prioritizing projects over the next 5 years. However, the CIP document is a living document and is periodically updated to reflect changes in priorities or other issues that may come up throughout the fiscal years. These will provide direction on how to focus our various funding sources to maximize their use for the upcoming fiscal year and the subsequent 4 years. Overall, between the various different major fund areas are between fire, general government, Measure R, facilities and maintenance, and public works. Our planned expenditures of $72.3 million between all of those particular funding sources. In total, there are 98 projects for the current fiscal year coming up, of which 22 are new. Street improvements will have a majority of the projects with a total of 27 projects planned, and storm drain will have the highest dollar value project, which we'll get into later in the presentation. So kind of structure for how we will be doing the presentation is we will be going over each of the individual major areas. I'll give a brief introduction of the projects and funding requests, and then the respective department head will give detail on the highlighted major projects. These are only the highlighted projects. As you can see, some of the areas do have a multitude of projects, but we will leave a pause after each slide for council to ask questions as we go, and then we'll circle back at the very end for council comments. So we're going to start off with the first area of facility improvements. There are a total of 21 projects, 6 of which will be new projects, with 15 existing projects essentially being carried over, either in progress or to be planned into this upcoming year that were appropriated from future years. Total request for these areas is $5.4 million for facility improvements. With that, I'll turn it over to our Deputy City Manager, Director Hamilton.
Good evening, City Council. So tonight we'll start with the first project, the hall at the Ingalls Event Center. This is a replacement project. The request is for $5 million total, $4 million coming out of development impact fees and $1 million coming out of Measure R. As you know, last year in the CIP budget, we had $1.2 million allocated for a roof hugger system and also a parking lot improvement project for the hall. What we did as part of the roof hugger system, when we got those initial design plans back, we had the building official take a look at that, and we realized that the building itself did not meet the structural seismic load that was required. So there was definite deficiencies in the existing building that wouldn't allow us to do the hugger system. Or it would, but it would be potentially compromised. It also didn't take into consideration ADA improvements, the issues with the current facility as far as the kitchen, and also, the stage and just wear and tear of the building. So it is recommended to replace the hall. We did go out to an RFP for design. We do have a designer that we are looking at that we need to go over with the Ingalls subcommittee. The design of this project is going to be roughly around $550,000 for the design. And the next project we have is the $5 million, correct? Yes, that does include. Correct, that does include the design cost for that project as well. The next project is the Fire Station 47 apparatus bay doors. This is for the replacement of all the roll-up doors that are there. We're going to look at accordion doors for Fire Station 47. This amount is $700,000. It also includes the back garage areas that they do have at the fire station. The next project is the annual ADA improvement project in the amount of $150,000. This is for all the entrances to City Hall. The 2 front doors, the ramps leading up to the, also at the sheriff's station, and then behind as well in that back breezeway. It also includes the ADA stalls and striping in the parking lot. Josh, are we taking questions now or afterwards?
No, so that completes the highlights for this section. Any questions from council in regards to facility improvements?
I have a question for the mayor. Would it be okay, or how would you like to do it as far as like questions specific to what staff brings up at this time, or like I have a shopping list that includes that, or let's say whether it's the hall or fire apparatus stores?
So
It can be for the highlighted or any and all projects under that category.
okay, so my understanding from Josh at the beginning of the meeting is if you have a question on anything on this slide, that you would ask that at this time, correct?
If we
And then
don't, if we don't capture it, we'll circle around at the end.
So then with that being said, like, can you just mark stuff off your list as we go through?
Yeah, if you want me
Okay,
to do
yeah,
it that way.
let's just do that. Yeah,
Okay. So the broad on then all your facility projects.
Okay.
And then if I miss something, I can come back on it. So let's start with the fire station,
Okay.
okay? On the apparatus doors. And most of this, Amanda, is overall, how did you determine these numbers without using like the WAG cost estimator book, okay? So, and I'd like to hear from our chief also on how did we get to $700,000 on where you said like accordion doors, where we could maybe do like aircraft doors or high, you know, the kind that just rapid going up. Front doors, rear doors, shop doors. How do we know what fire needs? So that's why I'd like to kind of hear from the chief on that, either this time or afterwards. And how did we determine $700,000?
Okay. So this was in, we do have future year projections in our CIP.
Right.
And so this was done last year. It was done with Chief Otterman, where he said that he would like accordion doors for the apparatus bay, for the main apparatus bay. The back garage area can be roll-up doors, but we were looking at the accordion doors for the main apparatus floor. At that time, when we were looking at numbers, I reached out to Act One Construction because they did something similar in another city. And so in talking with Act One, that's how we came up with that number, if it would be sufficient for Fire Station 47.
Before the chief says anything, years ago, Kevin, you maybe remember when Eastvale, that station was new and we went to the grand opening, they had like accordion doors in the front, but as a cost savings, they had, I believe, regular roll-up doors. And Tim can confirm that, so.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Yeah, the accordion doors, less maintenance on them, and they open and close much quicker than the roll-up doors. So that was why we typically, if we're going to consider those, we put those in the front as in consideration to our turnout and response times. We can get out quicker. Obviously, if we're coming back from a call, there's not a sense of urgency. And I can just speak that we've had a lot of very heavy doors at Station 47, and over the years, I know there's been a lot of preventive maintenance and repair costs. There's a lot of upkeep on those, but the accordion doors on models we've used at other stations in the county have only been in the front. We haven't done them in the rear. It's certainly an option, but kind of the driving measure was how quickly they open and close so we can get in and out for a call.
And maybe that is kind of a cost savings. Obviously, you need to get out of the building quick, not so much of a hurry to get back in.
Correct.
And then I know the storage doors in the back, if we just got rid of the residential doors and put in a standard commercial door, I think that operated correctly. So some of it's kind of between needs and wants.
And we can definitely work with the fire department on that. Once we're ready to go out to bid, they'll definitely take a look at that to make sure that it's in what they need, and it's also fiscally responsible as well. So we could look at the back doors if we want to do the roll-up.
All right. Thank you, Chief.
You're welcome.
So going down on your facility improvements, page 16. This is arena structural maintenance,
Yes.
which I'm in agreement with you on, obviously, bolt tightening on the high tension bolts and soft bolts. That needs to be done periodically.
Correct.
My concern is that either we start doing this with community development fees or whatever. On the Marina Arena, we're maybe 2 years away from having to replace that roof.
Yes.
Okay? That it used to be $3 a square foot. I'm going to say $5 a square foot. You have 86,000 feet on that roof. You're looking well over $400,000 in the next few years to replace that roof.
Okay.
And then Clark's going to be right after that.
Yeah.
So I think we need to start getting some funding going.
Okay.
That. And it's like, if ever in the future we plan on solar for those roofs, we can't do it, we can't do it today until we replace those roofs.
Yes.
Otherwise, we'd be coming right back and taking all those panels off.
Yes. With no solar, with no skylights.
No skylights. We're done with skylights on our steel buildings now. And something also to look for in the future, if you do consider solar, we'd have to go back and find out what the auxiliary loads are on those frames. It may not carry the load.
Yes.
Certainly, we need to start grabbing some money. I'm going to kill this
I
fly,
know.
so when I smack this, start trying to set aside dollars for that.
And we could do that as part of, because we do need to come back with the diff. I can schedule it into this arena's structural maintenance. I can schedule a replacement for the roofing for Marino and Clark Arena.
I'll skip a couple here. So page 21, Facilities and Maintenance Office.
Yes.
This is just a suggestion that staff and maybe the subcommittee could consider is the modular building on Valley View and Fifth. Yeah, make it go away.
Yes.
I think the block building remains, and I think, Kevin, you would consider that somewhat historical. But instead of putting a building there, okay, get rid of the modular, grade it, pave it, make some additional parking, and maybe we think about moving that operation up to the maintenance area that we're considering with Nellie Weaver Hall.
Okay.
And tie all that together under one roof.
Okay.
Did bay doors. Just a quick question, Engels Event Center equipment, that's page 24.
Yes.
Just curious. You want to add an additional Black Widow groomer.
Correct.
Does that mean I see another tractor on the horizon, or why would we
No.
need
We still
another
have the
groomer?
We still have the Kubota, and
Right.
we have our new John Deere.
Okay.
So it's really just to run two events in tandem, because sometimes, especially for, let's say, for example, Jerry Lundy's, he has a barrel race and he also has a roping event. It's just the Black Widow's in high demand.
Okay.
Very high demand. And so the guys were asking if they could run two of those. It would just be so much easier because if they do have another event in Clark Arena, they have to run the Kaiser. And so the Black Widow is just,
No, and I don't have
Too
a problem
easy.
with that. What concerns me is, well, we got a new groomer, we probably need a new tractor.
that is not on my horizon, but yeah.
Get a second water truck and we can have that battle, Amanda. This one troubled me a little bit. Page 25, Riley Gym door replacement.
Yes.
Okay, so on this one, I think, my personal feeling is Riley Gym needs to, I don't like putting money at that at all. But what jumped at me for $50,000, it says several exterior doors no longer lock, have damage, whatever. So to me, I looked at that and went, does one or two need to adjustment? But what do you have for several?
Yeah, a lot of the framing needs to replace. The doors are not locking, the back doors. They've been hit so many times by the kids playing
Right.
basketball where they just hit them and they're really not on the frames. The frames have dry
Right.
rot and so they need to be replaced. Not all of them, but several of them throughout the facility need to be replaced because they're coming off the frames.
Sure.
And we have things in place that really shouldn't be in place to try to lock those and secure the facility right now.
So the reason this one jumped at me, several exterior doors. Do you know how many exterior doors we have? 4 would be the answer.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about where, yeah.
Yeah, we have 4. So that's like $12,000 a door unit. We paid $3,900 for a 6.0 door for the barn installed.
Okay.
So this number needs to come down.
I could look at that. I just don't know what other item, I can talk to Ron about it because this is the number that my staff gave me. I don't know if there's other repairs that also need to be made in addition to those door frames, so.
Because the front storefront door, we changed out when Councilmember Bash was doing wheelchair basketball, and we realized people in wheelchairs couldn't get through the door. And that was replaced, so.
Because they had a center piece.
Right.
There's also issues with that locking mechanism as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
so.
well, I wasn't counting the storefront because we already had replaced that, but that's just an adjustment there.
There's, it's not tied into the reader system. There's some electrical improvements that also need to be made to that door. It wasn't installed correctly. So we do need a new locking mechanism for that front door.
Okay.
And one or two other points I would like to make for this project is, as sometimes we include additional funds because we have no idea what we're going to walk into, so it might include
Well,
additional
that-
costs.
yeah.
So let's say we budget $50,000, we only spend 45. The remaining 5 goes back into fund balance to be appropriated for future projects.
Sure, I understand that tracking, but when we're looking at, to me, Joshua, the difficulty of this budget, all right, that we should be much closer in our projections. If we're talking about, let's just say replacing doors, and that number's $16,000 max, why are you telling me 50,000? I guess that's where I have heartburn with that.
We could take a look at it and I can get back to you on
Okay.
those numbers.
Getting through this real quick. Page 30, Information Technology Server Room. I thought we were taking the server room out and you were going to like containerize that. Is that the same thing we've talked about?
So that was originally what the prior IT manager had in mind. You know, we were looking at that design.
Right.
With this new consultant that we're working with for IT management, they're actually talking about that the room itself isn't bad, and what we could potentially do is a TI on the building to expand out to where they have a workshop. There's an IT workshop right next to the server room now. Potentially expand out and leave the server room where it is. So we are looking at those TI options now. We do have a design engineer that we are talking to about cost. And I think from our budget meeting that might have been more palatable for some of the council members. So we are looking at that option now. It's just different management, you know, different people that come in with different ideas. And this consultant has built other server rooms. So I'm interested in that idea and what he has planned for it, and also talking with the design engineer.
Okay. And that would be to the exterior. Is that what you and I had talked about?
Originally, it was the exterior,
Okay.
sort of like a Conex box out in the breezeway, but now we're talking about keeping it inside the building with a TI.
Do you see that number going down from 800,000 with this other
Potentially, yes,
consultant?
potentially.
All right. As Mr. Naylor brought up, page 34, Angles Event Center Master Plan. I'll speak for all of us, that we could not be more impressed with what you, staff, and other departments, and at least one of the members of the subcommittee have accomplished up there. From Pikes Peak Park, to the signage, to the barn, to the lighting, to the bleachers, and now moving into the hall, okay? What's left to master plan that you've done most of it on your own with staff, that the biggest complaint we have up there is parking,
Correct, yeah.
okay? So my recommendation, I am a hard no on spending that $500,000 on a master plan. I think if staff and the subcommittee couldn't work out with some community input on parking, we'd get a parking guy for 5% of that cost if needed. But I don't see much left to master plan
So, you know, this.
that you're not capable of doing. Okay.
We got a lot going on. The biggest thing, you know, this originally, I think it was 2 years ago under a different city manager, was requested to do. And it was $1 million that, you know, we had budgeted. That included plans for these facilities, you know, maybe 20% drawings or something like that. Conceptual drawings and some plans associated with parking, covered stalls, just what we were going to do. I think there was a lot of different ideas that have come up in the past by people, and I think people are still maybe wondering when those items are going to come. So I know they talked about a parking structure on the east pad. You know, what are we going to do on the east pad? So it's just something to go by so we can work towards that in a CIP. I feel like I feel the same, that we're doing fine with what we have. When the need arises, we can, you know, we can implement those projects, but it's also something to think about for the DIF. If we wanted to, you know, we can put in money in the DIF in an unfunded page for purchasing land acquisition for additional parking, potentially covered stalls. We do get a lot of requests for covered stalls at Ingalls, especially when we have these like large events. Nobody wants their horses in the sun.
Yeah, we had this conversation years ago with, when Ted was on council, about stalls, and years ago there were stalls up there. If we're gonna have an event that needs stalls, you rent portables, period. No permanent stalls. We beat that into the ground. So, Mayor, I'm done with this round, but Amanda, I'm no on the master plan.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, let's see, because I did see hands over here too. We'll just go on down the road. So, Via, then we'll come down this way.
I just had a quick question. I just wanted to make sure I'm fully understanding about the hall replacement. That I understand. But here it just says existing hall and adjacent site elements. What does adjacent site elements mean?
I think those are referring to the ancillary improvements, like the exterior bathroom, you know, a courtyard, any sort of landscaping around the facility. And also, we are talking about putting in a storage facility in the back of the hall for our different shuttles that we do have, to get those out of the sun, to get those and out of the Connex boxes, and actually have a proper storage area where they can charge the shuttles and golf carts, and just get everything out of the sun, especially like our forklifts, maybe potentially some of our tractors, because the sun just eats them up.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Going back on the Riley Gym, Greg, the 50K, I know the reason why they did that, because I was with Lizette, and we were out there looking at them, And I don't see it taking 50 grand at all, but I do see the damage and the replacement, and I know why they're asking for it, because there's a lot of damage in the walls, like you were pointing out to me, there's a lot of water damage that it may migrate its way halfway down the wall, and that's what she was showing me. So I don't think it's out of, I know exactly, you know, I used to install doors for commercial, for schools, and they're expensive. They're cheap, but they're expensive to install. But I would say, you know, I 100% agree with you, but I think we ought to leave it at 50 grand just in case. And go ahead.
Did you want to counter to that? That I understand the doors being replaced. It's how you reach that number of $50,000 when a 6.0 unit, Craig, is $3,900 installed. And there's 2 of those. And there's 2 3.0s. That's it. That's the extent of the work on the doors.
Well, I was looking at the amount of damage that's done on the inside, because you're not just replacing a door. I agree with you 100%. But you're looking at the damage that's going along the wall, where you have to beef up that wall and tear that insulation out and put insulation back in. I could see it getting really close to 50K.
Then that should be under a different type of description, because this is just specifically doors that don't adjust. When we're talking about roof leaks or walls deteriorating, then that means that gets into the broader conversation of why we're putting lipstick on this building, okay? And we've been throwing good money after bad for years on this, Greg.
Yeah, but if you look at the big scheme of things, what it's gonna cost to replace that building, we don't have
Have
that
a
money.
developer pay for it. It's part of our general
True.
plan.
But until that time comes, we still need to keep the doors locked. And
I don't have heartburn on the doors.
that's just my opinion. I think the 50K is gonna run into more into the walls. I was just giving an explanation. I agree with you. And as far as like Merino Arena, and also Clark, the mention was of solar panels. Instead of putting them on the roof to where the wind can do damage, because I do see a lot of, you know, the Santa Ana's below, we should look at an option of putting up solar panels on the back side, on the east side of both buildings. For one, it'll kill 2 birds with 1 stone. It'll give all the animals shade in the summertime, and we'll be producing power. So if we put an awning all the way across the back, that'll withhold solar panels, and put it on both of those, I think it's a win-win. And instead of putting them on the roof and having the wind hit them and have it constant, this way they'll be lower. You boom them high enough to where you can still back this, you know, a tractor in there or whatever, and it will be really nice for the animals in the summertime, which a lot of our vents are. And we'll kill 2 birds. We'll have solar reusable energy, and we give the animals shade. And then for the master plan, I agree with you 100%. That lady right there she knows she can do it. And she can take that $500,000 and spend it somewhere else. But I agree with you on the master plan. We should spend that money. I mean, we all know what we need, you know. We could all go up there and tell everybody what we need. And I have all the faith in the world, Amanda giving us and because it's not gonna be done all at one time, we can just start adding as we go. So I agree with you 100% on that. That's all I got.
Councilmember Bash?
Councilmember Bash, your microphone, maybe switch to the one to your right, please.
All right, so any,
Well, you figure about 25 years on that low pitch roof, it's like a 1 in 12. Is it about for a galvanized panel is at that point, and it's 2002? I think we put that up, 2002, something like that.
groundbreaking 2002.
Yeah, so,
We did the,
yeah, yeah. So we're getting near 25 years.
is it failing?
Somebody shot a hole in the roof, but yeah, there are some issues. Definitely. Like a rodeo clown or something. Before my time.
We had a barbecue go through it one time when the clown blew up the barbecue. We've had a rock, and bullet holes are standard stuff.
So what's wrong with the skylights?
They're failing over time. I mean, you can't see through them anymore. They're degraded. Yeah, they're degraded over
Starting
the
to
years.
go yellow.
I was just curious about that. Riley Jim, I'm with you, Ray. The master plan, I'm frustrated because we actually had a predecessor to that from years ago. I mean, we've been working on, I've seen more improvements and more of a plan in the last 2, 3 years than I saw in the previous 25 years. And then in terms of the Riley Gym, I mean, the Scout House is falling apart. Riley Gym is falling apart. And since I was commissioner, we've been asking about how do we consolidate these? How do we, and that's 25 years. That's 20 years. So, and I know we can't just put hasps and locks because you got to be able to push open in case of a fire.
Correct.
But is there some kind of, I know these are tough times, but I really think we ought to be looking seriously at that plan to knock down Riley Gym and consolidate all those buildings. I mean, I know that's a huge ask, but it needs to happen. And we've been talking about it literally for a quarter of a century.
And I think there is. We know we don't want to spend a lot of money in Riley Gym, but I do right now need to make those doors functional. I think that as part of the general plan as well, we are looking at, a campus that would include Riley Gym, that would include the Scout House, that would include, basketball courts, maybe pickleball courts, maybe, multi-use facilities, storage room, classrooms, things of that nature, where it is a true community center. So that we are looking at that right now, especially in the unfunded CIP. We're going to be looking at including that in there as well for these diff fees. But right now for Riley Gym, I just need those doors functional, and I can talk with my staff. We could look at those numbers, but I do have a fear, it's going to be more framing. It's going to be more work than just the doors itself. It's bad.
All right, so any other VA have another question?
So I don't know, is this the point in time where we say we agree or disagree with something that's being proposed in this?
Sure.
Okay, so I'm also a hard no on the master plan for Ingalls.
Okay.
This goes to the fire doors. Tim? Sorry. That was on my list and I just forgot. I got tied up on Riley Gym. The fire doors, the ones we have right now, how are they functional? They're not working properly, or what's the reason? Just because they're open slower? I'm not grasping the reason why we need to replace them.
They're functional. They are very heavy. My thoughts are they're probably designed for a commercial business that opens up the doors at 8 AM, has business all day, closes them at 5 PM versus
Yeah.
us, we're open
Yeah.
up and down. When they go up through the tracks, you can literally see them shimmy and the whole thing shakes. And in spite of all the preventative maintenance, the lubrication of the rollers, it's just,
And
they're
those
very
are
heavy.
gonna be like $700,000 to replace them.
That's when we, yes, that's when we talked to Act One. And also, they are the original doors to the facility. We've also had some of them hit over the years by fire trucks.
Yeah.
And we've also had them come down.
Oh,
Right in front of
I've
people.
seen them come down. Oh, yeah, they're,
Yes. So they are a safety concern.
I got an idea. Car wash. No. I'm just kidding. That's what I wanted to ask.
Okay.
Thanks.
Mayor, may I?
Yes.
Could we take a short break to have IT be able to fix the mics in order for our streaming to work?
Sure. 5 minutes, 5-minute break?
Minutes should be good.
All right,
Thank
sounds
you.
good. So any other questions for the facilities improvements highlights? Excellent. Who's up next? Or what slide? Fleet maintenance. Back at Amanda.
Okay, so this first one is going to be our senior bus. So this is actually match funding. The total for the bus is $150,000. We have $120 in grant funding. We are asking for $30,000 in match funding for a new 12-passenger bus. This is for the seniors on the move. This is for that program. This will replace the 2009 Ford passenger bus with over 300,000 miles on it. That is just really, I think we've parked it because it's just too much to continue to maintain, especially knowing that we potentially will be getting this new bus for that program. The other project is the Norco Citizens on Patrol vehicles. This is a request for 2 vehicles, actually, in the amount of $80,000. This is to replace the 2008 Hybrid Escape along with the 2010 Hybrid Escape. These are original hybrids and they have a lot of battery issues associated with them, and then also just years of use, you know, just smaller issues here and there. There was one time this past year where all we had was the F-150 that we purchased last year for those volunteers, and we are recommending 2 vehicles this year for those folks. The other project is the animal transport vehicle. This is a request for $150,000. It's to replace a 2005 GMC truck. Has a multitude of maintenance issues, a lot of miles on it, and it definitely needs to be replaced. And with that, I can answer any questions that you may have.
Councilmember Bash, any questions? Mayor Pro Tem? Councilmember Sullivan? Councilmember Newton? No. All right, excellent. Next slide.
Thank you, Mayor. That moves us over to the information technology improvements. Total of 4 projects moving forward from previous years, a total request of $1.3 million for the upcoming fiscal year. I will kick us off with the first highlight, which is a project within being headed up by the Finance Department, which would be our ERP, or Enterprise Resource Planning Finance System Assessment. What this will do is our current system is on its way to be sunset in 2029. This will be a assessment process utilizing a third party to go through all of our processes, not only in finance, but also in community development, public works, and other departments, to have them all into one modern system that will carry us for the next few decades. That contract was approved in the last council meeting and is utilizing Measure R funds. With that, I'll kick it over back to Amanda.
Okay, so we touched a little bit on this project. It's the IT server room. The request is for $800,000. So we are working with the design consultant for a possible TI where the server room is now, just to extend that out, give ourselves a little bit more room there. The next project is a security system upgrade. This is, the request is for $300,000. This is for a lot of our satellite facilities. So we do have City Hall and the Sheriff Station that we've upgraded. Now we're looking at our satellite facilities like Animal Control, Senior Center, Community Room, also Parks and Public Works Yard, just to get rid of the existing security provider that we have. It's much cheaper with this new technology and a lot less headaches. The next project is a structured connectivity system. This is a request for $50,000. This is for recabling some of our facilities, going from a Cat 5 to a Cat 6, but now we're looking at Cat 7. So that's just to recable those facilities so that our IT improvements work much more faster and efficiently. And with that, I'm here for any questions you may have.
Any questions from council? Okay, next slide.
This brings us over to park improvements, a total of 12 projects, 4 new projects, a total request of $3.9 million. Back to Amanda.
So I know we talked about the Ingalls Event Center Master Plan. It seems like we potentially have a consensus to remove this item from the list. This was something that we did have on prior CIPs. It was for the, just to plan out the future of Ingalls for the next 10 years. The other project we have is the park signage project, a request for $300,000. This is to replace the monument signs that have the names and also have the addresses on them. Like if you look at Ted Brooks Park, the thing's falling apart. A lot of these were built by volunteers over the years. We're either looking at to match somewhat of what Ingalls has, or we're looking at something completely different. We were looking at potentially these rocks, something natural looking that's going to last, where you have the rocks that have the engraving in them. So we're just looking for consistency on that, and also just for public safety, just to make sure we have those addresses on there. The other project is the Wayne Macon safety netting in the amount of $70,000. This is for field 4 and 5. This is really for foul balls that come off those fields. So these fields are predominantly used by girls softball. And so we have had some, just issues with balls. So really this is just for safety and for our own liability that we want to install these safety netting. So with that, I'm available for any questions that you may have.
Any questions? Councilmember Bash.
The only thing I would ask is that maybe we can see if the Little League girls softball AYSO will, I know that has to be done, the netting, but maybe we can get them to pay some of it or all of it, because it would seem to me they also want to have safety too. But if they can't, I get it, but maybe at least ask.
Yeah, we do meet with them on a monthly basis. I know that they are looking at installing shade above their bleachers. And so I know that they're probably looking at a $200,000 cost for those shades for the bleachers. I mean, this has been talked about for years, but no one has ever stepped up to actually put in the netting. And so according to, my staff, this is a definite need that needs to happen.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
Any other questions? All right.
Moves us over to our public safety improvements, to our one single project, our helihydrant project. Over to Sam.
So everyone's aware of our new project over there. It's that 15-foot diameter tank by 8-foot deep. It's going to be remote censored. It's going to be most likely off of the valley, I believe. As we've already done fire flow testing, everything looks good. Just got to get the property owner into a meeting to discuss terms as far as the easement we need. Any questions?
Questions? Councilmember Newton.
Thank you. Weren't we looking at like off of El Paso for the first location? Or one of the locations when we met with the consultant?
Yes, the Flyboys didn't like it.
Okay. That'd be CAL FIRE?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so when we look at them, one of the couple of things we have to know is, the most important are the helicopter pilots okay with it. Secondly, we got to get water into there, so any type of location has to be below the reservoir.
Right.
Unless you're putting a booster station in, which is getting way more expensive.
So we're talking about Valley in Norco Ridge Ranch?
Yes, basically.
Or is that the estates, as we call it, right?
It'd be the road.
Estates,
It'd be the road between the reservoir and Frisian, going up the hill, right-hand side, or east side.
Okay, go up Frisian.
You go in Valley, you go past Frisian, you're going up the hill, and then there's another knoll that's on the right-hand side. And when you pass it, you could get to the T intersection to go to the golf course or around by
Got it.
the reservoir.
Okay, all right. And I thought originally, Sam, we were, for some reason, like 275,000 sticks in my mind. And we never developed like a hard quote. Do we still have a hard bid from this contractor? Somewhere I'm thinking we plugged 275 in there.
This project was originally quoted at $250,000 last year. It was risen upward based on staff's recent visit to Hoover Valley's comparable helihydrant station.
Okay, based on like JCSD costs?
Correct, yeah. It's also because you have to fence this. And then also we talked about doing a wrap on the actual facility,
Okay.
which it would keep graffiti out. That's something that they highly recommended. And when Lizette and I met with them, they said, this is the real cost of this. This is how much you're probably gonna spend
Okay.
to make it right.
And then, let me sidebar a little from Sam to Amanda or Lisette on that. When you met with Chris at JCSD, availability of grants, and also contribution by Riverside County Flood Control towards the helihydrant. I don't know if that was discussed in your conversation or not.
They did discuss that for some of their hydrants. They were able to get some grants, so it is something we could look into too.
So we're secure with like the 500, 550 price, but we could start pursuing grants on this to offset part of that cost.
Yeah, we could ask flood control in December
Right.
for additional funding. No
Because
problem.
they have before, and then we could also talk to our supervisor about assistance on that. Schedule-wise,
Trying to get Charlie Cox in the room. I've been trying to get in touch with him the next 30, 45 days, and he's just been a ghost. So I'm going to go figure out where his office is. Wait, it's on Lyman Night, so I'll go there and kick his door in.
all right, or move on to somebody else.
So
It's
he's one of the
limited, I know.
He's one of the managing partners, so there's more of the people. But I knew Chuck Cox was his dad, so figuring trying to use that to kind of get in there. But from what he's spoken to about the project, he sees it as something that he's interested in as well. So hopefully we can get him in here quick.
All right. See, they're the landowner of those, there's remaining like 25 lots up there or something like that. Right. Thank you, Mayor. Thanks, Sam.
Any other questions?
We had talked about at the last meeting, we'd gone to the sheriffs, where we saw Chad and we saw the San Bernardino sheriff, and they talked about some of the new AI technology, drone technology, things like that, that really help in terms of catching the bad guys. And I'm just wondering if we might be able to, at some point, maybe talk to Jessica or her department and just find out, because one of the things that's happening is a lot of cities don't like the flock system. They don't like the fact that people are looking at license plates, even though it's highly, highly effective. And so I'm just thinking that maybe to help our city in terms of that, maybe we can begin to incorporate or at least look at some of that technology.
Yeah, at the meeting we went to for the division, the San Bernardino County
Yeah.
has implemented a data center for their public safety to be used by multiple cities regarding all this new technology that they were talking about. So it is something we could look into and see what Riverside County, if they will have something in the making to follow that program.
I mean, one city had 100% catching of a murder rate. They caught every single murderer in 1 year, which was really, really impressive. And just so we're clear, when the guy running for supervisor, I'm not trying to replace deputies. I'm trying to help deputies to catch bad guys and to protect the community. So just to make that clear. But I know we can't deal with that this budget cycle, but if maybe we can start talking to the Sheriff's Department and find ways to utilize better technology. That's all I have, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, next slide.
Brings us over to recycle water improvements, 3 existing projects, total request for fiscal 27, 5.4 million, and Sam will touch base on the 2 highlighted projects.
All right, we got the Recycle Water Booster Station. That's a 2-project thingy. We have one, them building the actual pump station to basically take water, and then the other one is what they call the Northerly Pipeline. So we're working with the City of Ontario and IEUH. They're basically utility purveyor. They're a big utility purveyor. They're also in the market to sell and reclaim water. We're trying to basically sell it to them at a lower cost. So those are going nice. The booster station is going to be done probably next month. So that's awesome. Northerly Pipeline soon thereafter. The city of Norco right now is currently, we have an infrastructure put in a long time ago, but never used. But now we can. So that second project, the Snipes Recycle Water Pump, we're basically upgrading that facility, the pneumatic tank, the pump, all that fun stuff, and also concurrently basically doing an autofill pump station for Lake Norconian over on the dirt part of Western Avenue. So that one, we basically kicked off the meeting in January, February, but there was probably like a 6-month to 7-month delay in the pneumatic tank. It takes forever. So we're hoping that kind of somewhere towards in the late fall that this project will be getting completed. And then we have to notify the Navy that they're going to be paying for recycled water to fill the lake up. So they're not going to like that because it's more expensive than domestic. And then we'll be able to serve water to anything along Fifth Street. We'll have to look at that. Now we're going to start thinking about customers. Caltrans is one. Any parks. I know you have to be very careful about recycled water because years and years ago when the Norco High School redid their stadium and their artificial turf, and believe it or not, you still have to water artificial turf, there is no way you could ever use reclaimed water. Bodily contact, so that's something that if we're going to use it future in the parks and things like that, we just want to make sure that we're not violating some rule. And any questions?
Yeah, so Lake Norconian, one of the problems we have with the Navy, of course, is that they can't even afford the pumps to get the mirror ponds that flow into it. They're dry, and we were just out there, and so I'm really concerned about that particular lake and the rumors that we're hearing that they can't afford to take care of that. So I'm wondering how they're going to be able to pay for the recycled water cost. Tony Winnicki told me there is no budget whatsoever for recycled water. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. One of the things we talked to them about was right now the lake needs to be, they want to dredge the lake. But truthfully, I think there's two technologies. There's the one being used at Canyon Lake and the one being used at Lake Elsinore, in which Lake Elsinore has already said they would literally rent this flotation device that's what they use. I mean, they had dredged Lake Elsinore several times. They used this system and it was clean in 6 months. And that was a gigantic lake. So I think we're gonna have to do a lot of talking with the Navy to kind of figure out what to do, because my fear is they're just gonna let the lake go dry and just say, fill it in, because they're letting all of their historic buildings collapse and fall apart. I mean, they can't even clean the duck crap off of the pavilion. So I'm really anxious to see how those conversations go.
Apparently, the previous director had already notified them of that was happening. I just don't know anything beyond that. So
Yeah,
we'll get in touch with them soon.
Maybe, Amanda, they want us to share in the cost of that. Yeah, I think put a Hilton on that lake.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, next item.
So over to sewer improvements, Sam?
All right, more stuff. So we're right now in the design phase, probably about 60% plans for the Old Hamner Road sewer lift station. This is the one at the northerly extent of Old Hamner Road. It is aging fast, and we don't want it to go down because SSOs, sanitary sewer overflows, are no joking matter. So right now we're working on that one. It's probably the first one we're going to implement as soon as the plans are done. Lift station number 9 is a big one. That's the one on River Road and 2nd Street. That actually has in close proximity the old SAPA line, the SARI line, which everything went in. That's where actually a lot of our sewer can actually overflow into Corona systems. So it's nice. We have a built-in overflow over there. It's kind of cool. That's also in design right now. Those probably 2 projects will be having probably within the next, I'd say like 3 to 4 months, be finished design-wise. We can go and crack them open and get them done.
Any council questions of staff?
Do we have remaining, City of Norco, do we have remaining capacity on the SARI line?
I believe we sold it. We had some, and then my understanding from the previous director was we sold it away.
Did?
I think so, but I can confirm with him.
Would you do that? What I always call remember the deal with Better Nutritionals, and that was one of the considerations where they were going to have to, or looking at a plan to connect to the SARI line.
Yes.
Right.
Never happened.
I know that, but in case something else comes along, yeah, could you just check to see?
Absolutely, yeah, I know the current tenant is zero discharge permit. They haul everything off.
Right, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate you following up on that, Sam.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Any other questions? All right, next slide.
You again. Our storm drain improvements, some of the big ones. We have N3 extension. This has been in design for, I want to say, 3.5 years. It's very, very challenging. We have very little cover. We're going over Western's 30-inch desalter line, which they're not going to be happy about. It's such a shallow storm drain that pretty much every single water service and every single gas service is going to have to be relocated. On top of that, in that area, the gas company has prior rights, and they quoted about 2.5 years ago about $400,000 just to relocate all their gas services because they're in a collectible area. But you know, we're moving on it. We actually, as part of this project, have to build about 800 linear feet of a parallel sewer main on the south side of the road between Ranch and Valley View. This is due to the fact that because of the shallowness of the storm drain and where the sewer main is, there's no way to get a service underneath the sewer or over on top. So we're actually going to build a secondary sewer main, 8-inch. Thank you, Flood Control, for funding it. That's basically going to pick up about 6 to 8 houses on the south side of the road, just so we don't have to abandon the design or come up with pumps. Or what we don't want to do is chase someone's storm drain or someone's sewer onto their property, because then we own it forever. So that one's a big one. And then of course, once we get the storm drain in, we're going to do just like with 4th Street, and then come in right after and get the street plans as soon as SCE gets their poles out of the way. So that's a big one, a real big one. And the South Norco channel upgrade, that's another big project. Obviously, you saw that, $25 million for everything. Basically coming through and building a combination trapezoid channel and box channel, starting at the properties on 3 Bar Lane. The one that had a house on it got knocked down. Basically, that's going to be a rectangular channel. It's going to extend through those 6 3-bar residents or 6 3-bar residences in their rear yards. It's going to be neat because it's going to allow them to actually use the back, because if you go back there right now, it's a big hole. There's nothing you can do. You can't have horses down there. It's a big thing. And the project actually is going to condense and contain the 100-year water surface now, so none of these people have to pay flood control insurance flood insurance ever again. So that project ends up going through. It goes underneath Park Ridge. It goes through the backyards of the public 3-bar lane, which is, we're actually going to reestablish that trail back there. It's gone. There's no trail fence. There's nothing. And most people didn't realize there was a trail there. So we had to remind flood control that, yes, there is a trail there, and yes, we want to save it. So they're going to have to build a retaining wall, a little guy, so we can actually have a bridle trail through that area. Then that storm drain extends to the northeast, then below 1st Street, then through the Palomino property. We're working with them because they're actually going through their phase 2 stuff. So we make sure the constraints and the limits of the constructability of what the county needs to do to make sure that Palomino abides and does what they got to do, so everything fits nicely together. Then that ends up going under Mountain Avenue. And then obviously, you know, there's a channel between Mountain Avenue and Hamner. It's kind of a rudimentary kind of wall structure, kind of old open bottom. That's actually going to be a box channel / trap set channel all the way up to Hamner. It's going to contain 100 water surface, be a really good project. They'll take a lot of properties out of the floodplain. And it's been a long time coming. And the Palomino project actually instigated it because they have a large portion that needed to be done through their property, and they'd never dedicated the right-of-way in that area. So it's kind of neat being able to get that for free to be able to complete the project that is so needed. I think of all the major channels, that one didn't have on that leg, for some reason, the actual 100-year improvements. So it's a big one. So, any questions?
Any questions? Councilmember Newton?
Will that project impact the next phase on Palomino?
No, Palomino is planned for phase 2 to incorporate that. What right now is we're getting the details out of all because right now I basically presented Palomino with the legal and plat showing the easement, the in-fee easement they're requiring to make sure it's lining up with what they're doing. So the developer and the flood control are working together to make sure everything's ironed out, so there's no surprises in the end.
Okay. Can I shift this question over to Colby just for a minute and go with like on their phase two, I know they have a project coming up or a building coming up.
Yeah, that is correct. For phase two, all the way to First Street, they have a few buildings.
Does this storm drain impact that next round of construction they're planning?
It should be embedded into the course of the construction of the second phase, whatever improvements are necessary to mitigate, the flooding conditions.
Both good with it? Okay. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Sam, how many houses would be affected with the gas on that first?
Pretty much, I would say every house between Valley View and Sierra, south side of the street.
So, just food for thought. The way California wants to push and get rid of gas and go electric, it'd almost be better to just keep this in the back of your head if there comes up, to push them to go all electric. And then for what gas is trying to propose is how much it's gonna cost. They can just go pay the homeowners to upgrade all their appliances to electric. And that would take care of that problem. And then, like you said,
Well, there would, regardless, there would still be a cost to the city to abandon those facilities.
yes.
Maybe not as much as a new pipe.
Yeah.
But there would be still a cost because they're not going to leave a charged pipe in those areas and call it abandoned.
Just food for, I just given out food for thought.
10-4.
Any other comments? Go ahead.
I have one more on storm drain, but I don't think it's going to be you. On page 41, today's my week to pick on fire. So Fire Station 47, on the sump pump, the catch basin,
Yes.
I have no agreement or disagreement. You need a pump.
Yes.
Okay. A real pump that works with electrical that works. What I don't understand in this description is why would you include the construction of a larger catch basin? And the reason I ask that question is that catch basin is designed to capture that runoff of the back lot, but it discharges, my understanding is it discharges through the curb face to 6th Street.
On 6th Street?
Right. Once again, the chief could verify that, but nodding his head. To me, the size of the catch basin is not going to dictate that much. It's got to be the pump to this diameter of the pipe you discharge through.
It'd be a lot of things.
Yeah.
Because you don't want a pump kicking on every 30 seconds, so there's going to be some design of a reservoir. You don't want to over-design your pump too big because, again, you don't
Right.
want just sucking it down because the on, off, you're just going to destroy the pump.
Yeah.
But
This
those,
is like a 30 by 30 catch basin already.
Huh?
Or 24 by 24. I didn't
yeah, I
measure.
don't know the size and if there's an issue, but, there
I
may.
think
it may-
it's the pump. That's why I want to go a little further, or have you go a little further and go, where did the catch basin idea come from?
I think the idea is just to try to get the water out of there because it's always flooding. So, this is something that has been on CIP for a while. I have to go back to take a look at my notes on this, honestly.
Just let me
But-
know because the two don't match, but I have no
Okay.
problem. You need a sump pump.
Yeah, definitely back there.
Works.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions? Okay.
All right, well, the big one, which is the Hamner Avenue widening project. So this is a project that many, many moons ago, the director actually prepared plans for multiple properties between 3rd and 5th to basically get the right of way. We're gonna build the improvements for you. That was the carrot. A lot of people accepted, some didn't. Tune-up Masters is one, which has recently changed ownership. So we're gonna go and basically re-engage all these owners again and see if they're willing to do it. The restaurant right next door to it, which used to be the same owner, now it's different. Where Pope Construction is, over by Ken's, that one little strip mall right there, that's another one that didn't go through. And the other two were the fortune teller / Hawaiian food joint And then the motorcycle spot, the trophy motorcycle area, right there. They are all kind of like, and a lot of it has to do with parking. You know, you'd be taking a lot of parking away, so it'd be something that, you know, if we do widen the road, is it something that we would like to offer them parking on the street at those, in those locations, given the fact that they're losing it, right? So that's something we're gonna do, see how we can shake it out. What's nice about it is the plan's already done. So as long as I get the easement legal and plat, boom, we can basically refly the plans, or at least the applicable sheets for those properties, and we can get that done. I know everyone wants one, especially over on, you know, the southwest corner of Fifth and Hamner. That's deadly. And the other miscellaneous improvements, there's a lot of areas that we have curb and gutter, and then nothing on a lot of streets. One specifically I know of is on California Avenue it's just south of 6th Street where the bend is. We have curb and gutter that was done up to a certain number of homes, and then we have like 4 or 5 homes that don't have any, and it's terrible because that's where the water goes. It basically crosses the street and goes through people's yards. They complained about it. So those types of little infill projects are perfect for getting curb and gutter in there. They're not going to be much street widening because the street's already basically at its width. It's just more or less trying to connect the dots, and you have positive flow. So it's not like you got to sit there and engineer much of anything. Just get it in there. So that's just, you know, those types of situations where we have, you know, a gap, and it goes, well, it's not a massive project, but it's something we can get done.
Council have any questions of staff? Go ahead.
And this may be more towards Joshua, on Hamner Avenue, and it's kind of a silly thing, but right down from the Fifth and Hamner that you're talking about, and the restaurant, J&M Towing, I would like to know what we have allocated cash in lieu fees for properties along Hamner Avenue for this work. And the reason I ask this is Jimmy over at J&M he always teases me because he said 25 years ago, I had to give $20,000 to the city to cover the cost of all the curb and gutter and paving by giving away my right-of-way. And then that'll be why I don't like cash in lieu, because I don't think that little bit of money is going to cover the work. No, it won't. But I'm just curious to the overall properties that have paid cash in lieu on Hamner Avenue. Is that possible to do?
Going back that far, we could definitely research it. I will get back to you whatever we do have a catalog of.
Okay. I mean, because I know for a fact there's properties that have. And when we talk about right-of-way, Kevin, you'll remember this, the old gas station across from, where would that be, the Mobile? That we bought that right-of-way. We weren't on council at the time. They used redevelopment funds to purchase that right-of-way from that owner. So I just want to make sure that that still shows that we have that right-of-way.
I believe we do.
Yeah.
Some of it's in fee, some of it's easement.
Yeah. It was $1.5 million that they paid for that right-of-way. Mm-hmm.
So in front of the trophy shop and in front of the old ham lady, the restaurant there, they'd actually have more parking if we let them park on the street, correct? Because right now, it's actually dangerous when you pull into those places, because you're pulling in, and it's like you're pulling out into traffic, but if you could parallel park, it might be safer.
It is, and unfortunately, I believe the main concern for the Hawaiian place is that's their ADA parking. So you can't put ADA parking on the street. So you got to do some figure it out, and I don't know the challenges with maybe relocating spots to the rear of the property, whether a path of accessibility could be had between there and the front door. And I think that's one of the main reasons that they said no.
Yeah, well, good luck. I know it's under CIP, but one of my big concerns is between 4th and 5th, oh my God, Hillside Avenue. I'm worried about that area there. Is that part of the reason you're not doing anything there? Is it because you have the telephone poles they have to move?
On Ham, oh, you mean on the east side?
Yeah, I just shifted over to Hillside Avenue between 4th and 5th, which I know is under the CIP, but the thing is, that road is really bad.
So, yes, it is. And so I basically have looked at that. I've actually acquired about $1.7 million from county flood. It needs storm drain.
Oh, that's right, you
It's
gotta
a big
replace
low
the storm
point down there. You can see it is right as rain. It's right there. It's get destroyed. So we've actually looked at what we can do with that storm drain. There's actually a trunk line to the north and trunk line to the south. The trunk line to the north, if I just went straight with the pipe south on Hillside and tied in pretty much at on 4th Street, storm drain's too high. If I go to the north side and I tie into that that storm drain, I could. Water's not able to go there. I'd overcapacitate the system. So my next bet, and the only bet I could find, and I've done some preliminary work on, is to actually put a storm drain in, go south, and then it's not spur. It's a private street on the west side, and I can't remember exactly what it is. If you kept going west on this street, you'd go through the Wrangler, which comes off of Temescal. So that would be the only thing I could do. I'd have to basically go south and go through 3 to 4 people's properties, which is a road. It's their legal property. I have a sewer and water easement, but I do not have a storm drain easement. So basically I have to negotiate an easement from about 4 different people on that road. Once I get that, then I can build that storm drain. And that would basically would be on that small road. It would go continue west in Wrangler and then tie into the storm drain that is in Temescal, which all that water is actually able to go to through those properties. So all that water at Hillside eventually just continues west and gets on Temescal and then goes south, so like Triple Crown and Cole, all those streets. You remember those basins that were there? It's funny, I designed those back before I was even a city employee. And the thing is that water rarely gets there because it takes so long. So this storm drain is going to actually on Hillside Avenue will basically pick all that water up and dry out those people out between Hillside and Temescal because it's a ton of water that goes through there.
Yeah. All right, well, anyway, I was just curious. Thank you.
And then, Sam, the only question I had on, do you feel comfortable with the timelines that were presented in the CIP? Because some of them had design and construction in the same calendar year.
I'd have to look which ones.
But like, do you feel like what was presented in the CIP for like the street improvements is attainable, doable,
Yes.
all of the things?
Yeah, the big one right now that is being held up, it's either an SCE issue, so 4th Street, 5th Street, I think one of the Valley Views, Center Street, all these roads have poles that need to get out of the way, and they're at different varying timeframes, so it's always at the mercy of Riverside or SCE. The second one is on Temescal between 5th and 6th. We have a water main. I'm basically working with the consultant right now, potentially to not even have a loan on the project because there's actually $50 million available for failing water systems, which we're one of them, that we could basically borrow money, or not borrow money, but get money to do our project. So we're basically making a request for like anywhere from $7 to $8 million right now to knock out Temescal, to knock out Corridon, and potentially, eventually, 6th Street. So that'd be awesome.
Thank you. So I think we're good for the next slide.
Give Sam a break. We'll switch over to trail improvements. Kick it over to Amanda.
Okay, the first project we have here, the Ingalls Trails improvements. This is a request for $600,000, and this was given to us as an engineer estimate from our city engineer. Last year, we did have some survey work done off of 6th Street from Pikes Peak to Gate G, formerly known as Gate 1. This was for, the request was based upon when we have rodeos or large events, a lot of people walk up to Ingalls on that side of the road, just adjacent to Mickey's Mountain. And so with the survey work, we identified exactly where those property lines are. So we are proposing to install a new section of trail improvements for pedestrians and equestrians from Pikes Peak Road all the way up to Gate G. This would include the white vinyl fencing, DG trail improvements, and also portions of retaining walls to hold back that ridgeline there. So the next project we have is the Silver Lakes Causeway project. This is a request for $700,000. Our city engineer is also working on these plans, and that also is an engineer's estimate from them. This would include improvements under Hamner Avenue from the Eastvale Community Park. It includes landscape, trail maintenance, lighting, and enhancements also for emergency vehicles to go underneath Hamner Avenue. This is also for, Silver Lakes, for when they do have events, maybe having Uber drop off there, where people can safely access Silver Lakes from that point. We do also have a request into Congressman Calvert's office for this same funding amount of $700,000, hopefully for an appropriation. And I'll pass it off to Sam for ongoing trail maintenance.
So the usual, coming across once a week, somebody encroaching the trail, trying to get rid of stuff. We have some money for it, always trying to get people away from that and have them do it themselves. But it does help if we want to get something that was terrible or it's, a little fence line here and there. So as needed.
With that, we can answer any questions that you may have.
Council have any questions of staff? All right.
Cool. So a couple of the projects, Temescal Avenue main line replacement, that is a brand new 8-inch ductile iron line replacing old 6-inch CMLNW. All new services, zone valves, so we don't have to shut the entire street down when we do have water leak. Basically 100% plans, ready to rock and roll, just waiting for the funding. Right, so we'll be submitting with the state, the SRF stuff. We have to submit, unfortunately, because it's their money. We have to submit historical report and a biological report for a water line we're putting in the middle of the street. So it should be a fast report, but unfortunately, that's one of the requirements for that free money is to do those. So that's being done right now. Corridon, basically new 12-inch water main replacing the old 10-inch between Fifth Street and River Road. Pretty complicated project, lots of crossovers, lots of tie-overs. When we put these water mains in, we have to make sure that I can get the entire main line in without basically hitting any of the existing water lines, so I can charge the line. Because again, when in kind of water line construction, you kind of have the new charge line, then you start chasing services over. So for a little point of time, you have both water mains in service. You can't just abandon one and put the other one in because now nobody has water and you got problems. So that one's good. I'm probably 80% on there. And then, of course, once that street goes in, or a water main, most likely we'll think about a future street project because Corridon's kind of getting tore up. In certain areas, we got to jump from when we had our water break over by the Corridon staging area. So look into that. And then another very complicated project, 6th Street 12-inch water main replacement. That goes from Sierra Avenue, California, replacing an old series of different types of lines. We have 12, we have 8, we have 6, we have 16. It's all over the place. Thankfully, when we did the channel project there about a year and a half ago, North Norco Channel, we actually installed a 16-inch water line underneath that channel that we're going to connect to. So it's going to alleviate us from having to dig down to the center of the earth to go underneath that thing. So most likely the next 30 to 60 days, we'll have potholers out there. So they're going to start going through. It's a ton of potholes. And unfortunately, on that street, portions of that street are embedded with concrete for some reason. There's old roadway. So our potholers have basically, when they go down and they hit the concrete, we almost have to basically stop and go to the next hole type of thing. So they're going to be doing that soon. It's another large project, and depending upon how successful we are with the free money, might be the next project because it's going to be a very, very expensive project for the entire length. And I don't know if we'll be able to do it, in a single project, or we phase it between, certain streets or what. Any questions?
Any questions of staff? Councilmember
Yes.
Newt?
Kind of water street with that. Your water improvements on Corridon and Fifth just made me think, where are we with the review of the dollars that are, I'm trying to think of the title, Corps of Engineers?
Yes.
RKA is reviewing those dollars?
Yes, so what they did, they basically submitted a report to us, and there
Right.
was a lot of concerns from the city engineer, so he's made his comments, and I'm reviewing right now, and the next step is to send it over back to Orange County Public Works
Okay.
for their response.
And do you have a ballpark of what they're saying and what we think it should be?
It was a tad under 400.
Okay.
But there is a lot of assumptions that don't make sense about pavement thickness and what they're responsible for and what not responsible for. You know, usually you're putting in more than an inch of asphalt.
Right.
So
Okay.
that's where it didn't sit well with us. So that's when we're coming back to them to kind of have them explain themselves.
And this can be funding that we can use for Fifth Street corridon,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
So I thought a few years ago we replaced the line from Sierra to California. I thought we replaced it. I don't know why. We tore up the road, but and then when we moved here in '61, you'd see that it was a 2-lane road on 6th Street. You'd see concrete, and then you'd see asphalt, and you see concrete, and you see asphalt. So it was just all torn up. And Pedley Avenue was actually oil with gravel on it when we moved here in '61. So it was a great baseball field. You know. But yeah, I remember the concrete. It was interesting. They just put asphalt on it.
Yeah, and we just, for us, for a construction standpoint, we have to make sure that we're identifying as much as we possibly can in the construction bid documents because a contractor just wringing his hands when he sees that. So, like I said, we'll have a unit cost for it, so we do incorporate it. There's a negotiated price already for that removal. Because we're finding in Norco, you start digging the ground, it's crazy. We actually, when we were digging 3rd Street up, we found the old 3rd Street. And the Caltrans just buried it. It's nuts. But it's like, yeah, par for the course.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, next slide.
So rounding us out to Measure R, this was presented to the Citizens Oversight Committee last month for their recommendation to move forward with council. A total of $21.3 million expenses for their fund, total revenues of $8.7 million. Of which the expenses is $20.6 million of capital improvement projects, which is majority of the expenditures within that fund. You have seen illustrations of what those funds are being utilized for in the various different categories presented this evening. Estimating the beginning fund balance with what is projected to be completed within that fiscal year will end the year with an estimated fund balance within Measure R specifically at $1.9 million. Majority of the projects are street improvement related, $11.7 million at about half the cost of it, along with the others into other various different categories. With that, that concludes the presentation for the CIP budget. Last minute questions or commentary from council.
I have two remaining questions. One for Sam Joshua. On page 4 in our book, just explain this to me. It shows Measure R expenditures, transfers, 20,000,006. Estimated ending fund balance of Measure R is 0, it's blank. But on this, it shows $1,000,009. So why is it, we've spent it all on page 4, but we show a balance of 19.
In this section, we're only showing the capital improvement costs.
Okay.
In the operating budget is where you'll see where it ties back to the 1.9. So this is just focusing on CIP projects, money that we're using and expensing.
Okay.
So.
Thank you for that explanation. Page 104, this has to do on water improvements, and this is on PFAS, which is a concern. Have we collected any monies on where the lawsuit that we're involved in is it's kind of a class action lawsuit? And we should have received a payment on this.
Yes, we have received an amount, and we have it saved within the water fund because we want to assess with the settlement, does it come with strings of how it can be used and whatnot until
Right.
we actually get some responses on how we can utilize that, then we'll proceed forward on how to use those funds.
Okay, and part of my concern on this is as the state keeps dropping these limits, that with CDA, we're gonna be spent just for one well only, just to start, it's gonna be almost $1 million for an ion exchange. And that's why I'm curious, what have we collected in this class action lawsuit? Because we're gonna get,
I don't think it's $1 million right now.
for us.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, I mean, it's, the PFAS stuff is pretty crazy.
Right.
It's the fluoride that's going to be the juggernaut.
Right,
So we're going
right.
through that right now, and we found a chemical way to treat it, but it's significant amount of chemicals.
I know, I mean, there's portable units like ion exchange also. So I just want to make sure we're staying on top of that, and if we're receiving money out of this class action lawsuit.
We actually have a PFAS dine is completed.
Okay.
The SRF loan is ready. If we can't solve the fluoride problem, there's no need to move forward with PFAS.
Right.
So that's what we're going through now with our consultant, just to find out what the cost is, given all the new chemical usage. There's going to be additional capital costs for the project because you have so much chemical use that you're backwashing consistently. So you're going to need some type of settling basin, which is an additional cost with very little real estate. It also makes sense if you're going to go through that whole process that you would basically get your wells running, all of them, as many as you possibly could. And then we're having a consultant just look at the cost because the chemical use alone was 30 times. So it was significant. So we want to be able to look at that and make a good decision on how to proceed with our wells.
Okay. Thank you. And Mayor, if I can just make just a general comment that I want to thank staff for all their work and participation in Lisette. I like this format better that we have where we can finally get done with CIP and all this stuff before account and not have to go to a council meeting right afterwards. So I appreciate that you did all that. And Jessica, after we talked this morning, I apologize I didn't have any questions for you this afternoon. No, we're good. We're good. Thank you, Mayor.
Council have any other additional comments or questions? Mayor Pro Tem Bowen?
Yeah, on the water, and we were talking about getting the grants that they have out there. Where are we on as far as, I'm not up to speed to that, so then if it's something that me and you can sit down and talk about, and let me know where we're at.
Absolutely. One of the grants we've got, I'm basically invoicing them to
Yeah.
get that money. And my understanding is the other grant that we had through Calvin's office was accepted. So I just got to follow up with their office to find out where that's at.
Awesome. Yeah, I just wanted to see if there's anything that we can do to help you.
No, I'm good.
So Sam, so we're looking at all this money for PFAS and fluoride and all that kind of stuff, but we're also looking at the fact that we may be losing 40% of the water we get from the Colorado River, which will affect us, at least what we're hearing. So my question is, in your crystal ball, is it advisable to begin to try to make us as autonomous as we possibly can and maybe to make significant investments? Or is it cost effective just to buy our water?
It's a lot of revolving stuff, right? We've heard in the next 10 years, 3,000 an acre foot from Metropolitan Water District.
What are we paying now?
About 1,400 through Western. We pay about 13 and change through CDA, and then City of Riverside's about 925. So it's challenged because the water there it's not that great. It comes out at 96 degrees. It's heavy organics. Obviously, one of the issues we have beyond just what we've talked about PFAS, about fluoride, TTHMs. So that's basically chlorine residual for sitting too long, which is a whole nother, again, there's a lot of capital costs we'd have to kind of deal with that. And it's a challenge. The well water in that area is not that great. And over the years, I know all the wells have basically been died out because of varying things. I know one was the salts up in the Chino Basin, so we can't use those. So we have an analysis through our consultant to go through and kind of understand what is it with all these capital costs, what would we be paying for per acre foot for this? And is it even close? Is it close to it? Is it still a huge savings? Do we go for it? You know, I don't really hear too many people over in that side of town liking that water because it's bad. It's not. It's good. It meets the requirements of the state water, the State Water Resource Control Board, but it's just something that is not like you're buying from the RO water from Western or from CDA.
I mean, I know we're tiny, but is there some way that we can leverage this with other cities to get them off the dime to run those lines through the Delta, at least one of them? I mean, we keep talking about this for years. I mean, I know that fish is valuable, that keeps dying by the millions, but I don't know, it just seems like, because California actually has more water than what's in the Colorado, if we could just get it from north to south. I don't know, I wish there was.
A lot of pumping.
Yeah, but I mean, when they start telling us our lawns have to die and all that kind of stuff, I mean, the truth of the matter is the people running it are ridiculous.
Yeah. Right now we have requirements to continue to reduce water. So it's you know, and they take no account for you having a horse or not. Like if you own a ranch with 10,000 head, that's one thing we don't hear. But there's so many of them. California says, well, it's tough. Another obstacle.
Any other questions or comments for staff? All right. Well, then I believe we are done. Did you have closing remarks, Joshua?
Some closing remarks, Madam Mayor. So for CIP, we appreciate the feedback from council. Next steps will be a action item as part of the overall budget, taking into account the various different changes. I do want to switch us temporarily back over to a discussion on the operating budget from last week. So staff has been diligent working on the inquiries and follow-up with council and get those follow-up items with council as soon as possible. As presented in last week's presentation, the city is currently facing an ongoing structural deficit. This is caused by economic factors and legislation limitations that caps our revenue growth at the same pace as expenditures. With our top three area costs continue to increase significantly, in particular, substantial and unsustainable increases in public safety costs as well as personnel costs hit with high pension cost over time. Simply put, our expenditures are outpacing our growth, revenue growth. So staff has made considerable efforts in recent years to manage our costs, identify efficiencies, and reduce expenditures where feasible. However, despite those efforts, we are continually, the cumulative impact of those long-term factors have continued to compound, has brought us to a financial position reflected in both budget years and again in this proposed budget. Because of those conditions over the years, it is important for us to recognize that resolving them responsibly will also require time, thoughtful planning, and long-term strategy. Accordingly, staff is requesting council direction to move forward with the proposed budget, including the projected structural deficit for this year and likely the subsequent 2 fiscal years, while utilizing fund balance reserves as a temporary bridge strategy. This approach would provide the city with the necessary time to thoroughly evaluate and bring forward both revenue and expenditure initiatives as part of a comprehensive long-term financial plan that will set us up for long-term fiscal sustainability. With that, I'd be happy to address any comments from council.
Any comments from anybody over here?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's your recommendation to accept the $2.5 million deficit? Is that what you're saying at this time?
Yes. That's what he just asked for.
Want my comment? Is that it?
Yeah, you're welcome to, sir.
No, no. Don't accept that. You guys need, you need to make the hard cuts. And I'm not going to vote for a budget that has another $2.5 million deficit. That's my comment at this point.
Any comments over here? So I have a couple. I've been asking almost since I got on council for this to be done. I was told by the last city manager that it was handled. I was basically given a smoke and mirrors show and a balanced budget. And I knew it was smoke and mirrors and nonsense. But we still need, I want a balanced budget, right? But I want a city that doesn't have a structural deficit, and I want somebody to tell me the structural deficit, like why it's happening, and then what's gonna be done to fix it. I get that costs for public safety are going up, but I feel like that's the easy scapegoat. Like, let's just put it all on public safety, it's our 2 contracts, and not worry about the problems we have in-house. So I kind of feel like I'm tired of hearing about the cost of public safety going up, and that we're just gonna put the full burden of our deficit on them. Nonsense. Number one, our first responsibility to our residents is public safety, period. So whatever that cost is, that's the cost. Because if people don't feel safe at home, and if their house catches on fire, they have an emergency, and they don't get the response, every single one of us up here, in my opinion, is responsible for that. So here's the deal. Our job up here is to come up with policies and ordinances and laws, and it's the job of staff to implement. And then if the residents don't like what is going on, then we get fired by not getting reelected. We have 2 employees, a city manager and a city attorney, period. It is not our job to dictate to staff, like, cut this department, fire that person, do this. That's your guys' job to do that. I could make you a list today. Like, I'd easily get rid of probably 1 department. But that's not my job to do that. It's your job to look and see how many people are being served by a department, what are people doing in a department, what are their jobs, where are we struggling, where are we not? And I guess for me, the frustration comes that I'm having the exact same conversation that has been had with staff the last 2 budget cycles right now. And I was hoping, after some of our discussion at the last workshop, that it would be a little different. I asked you to come back with, and it didn't have to be today, we have another workshop. We have projects coming online. Have HDL give you a rough estimate of here's what we can project potentially coming in. And so then you could come back and say, hey, council, like, we get it right now, there's a deficit of this. These things come online, there's gonna be potentially this. So then we are asking to not make any hard cuts for the next 2 years because these things are gonna come online. What I just heard is like, hey, can you give us 2 years to kick the can down the road again? And I am absolutely not interested in that, because I've been asking for 3 years for this to be done. So I don't know at what point you keep asking staff to do something that isn't being done. So we gave you the idea of a tax revenue. We gave you the idea of look at some other areas, like beyond me telling you, you know, what departments to cut and what projects and people and all the things. I don't know what you want us to do. But I'm in the same boat as Councilmember Newton. No, because it didn't come back where it was projected before. So sometimes there's tough decisions that have to be made and things aren't pleasant and our work's not fun, but it still has to be done. So that's just my 2 cents on it. I don't know if any other council members have comments, but I'm beyond frustrated if you can't tell.
So one of the primary problems with Norco is that we don't have the rooftops to generate the kind of services that people in Norco want. And that is a huge problem. That's been the problem since 1964 when we became a city. It's the truth of the matter is for Norco to have survived as a city the way it has is actually impossible. It's impossible. We have done the impossible for 53 years now. And my only frustration, because I don't see how we can cut our way out of, I just don't see how we can cut our way out of this kind of a deficit, because there's so many things that seem to be critical, that are needed, that kind of thing. I know we can delay them, but where I do agree with Robin is I'm only a little frustrated because I see we have the apartments coming online, and I'm hoping, I know that's difficult, but I'd like to get your crystal ball out and let us know what that's going to be. I talked to Lisette about that today. We have some other projects that are coming at us, and the dilemma is we're trying to stop them. We're trying to limit them. And one of the things that we have a difficult situation as a city council, because where the public wants first-class fire, first-class police, they want Ingalls Park, they want to ride the trails, they want the trails to look perfect. They don't want the things that would actually bring those things into the community. So we're asking you to do the impossible. We are. We know that. But at the same time, I would love to know if, in fact, the Previty project, what that's going to bring to us. I'm incredibly encouraged with the uptick in economic development that Colby's providing. I mean, I am incredibly enthusiastic about that, something that we just literally couldn't afford. And truthfully, most economic development departments in most cities are, no offense to anybody, they're like worthless. And it seems to me that Colby coming back from the ICSC and along with what Kelly's doing, I'm really encouraged by some of the things that are coming. But I am right there with Robin, because I'd just like to know, okay, what is our plan? What is our plan? Do we have a plan, given the parameters and the problems that Norco has and the things we're trying to protect and preserve? Because I just don't see we can cut our way out of this particular dilemma. But truthfully, guys, we knew this was coming. We knew it was coming. And so I think that we're asking you to do the impossible. I believe it can be done because we've done it for 53 years. I mean, when we first became a city, everybody said, oh, a bunch of farmers are never going to survive. We're also asking you to protect us from Sacramento. We have a huge, daunting task. I know we have the Jacobson property coming. I mean, I don't even know what an apartment complex brings to the city of Norco. I don't even know. Because now what we're doing is we're circling the wagons to protect the agricultural portion of the city. I mean, we did try to put those areas in places that would least impact, hopefully, the rest of the city. But what kind of money does that generate? Is there some way we can find that out? I mean, if I felt like, well, you know, this is going to bring in, you know, $800,000 in a year, I'd just like to know that. But I am, and I'd like to know, yeah, there's some real efforts being made that we can't talk about publicly. There's some things coming to the city, and, you know, so that we could at least to our residents say, hey, we're doing the impossible, but there's some cool things coming to help preserve and protect the lifestyle. They're all going to quit, Robin, just so you know that. It's impossible. But that's kind of where I'm coming from. I'm with Robin. Just let me know, give me some hope that we're going to be able to dig our way out of this thing, which we fully expected was coming. One of the things we talked about was, I don't know what the status is, but, and I know people don't like the taxes, but one of the things has to go along with this is that we have to let the residents know that this is what we are doing. We're trying to protect a lifestyle in a crazy world called Sacramento. And how do we do that and provide all the stuff we're trying to provide? So I'm asking you to help me to do that. Does that make sense? Kind of. You can say it doesn't. Does it make sense? Does it just make sense?
Yeah, we appreciate the commentary, Councilmember Bash. You're right. It is very tough choices are ahead of us as staff and with you as a council. We are, as part of these initiatives, we are going to provide you the data. Problem is to give you data that we can actually bring forth to you and stand up here and actually say we feel comfortable with this number with 51% accuracy takes a couple of months at minimum for us to see what we can use under our existing contracts or have to just do regular spreadsheets to gather appropriate data. This is why we're asking for that time to do thoughtful, responsible data to you to be able to provide that to you.
That's coming.
It's definitely in the works. The TOT is in the works. You mentioned public city parcel tax at previous meetings. That is something that is also being explored. Looking at existing expenditure contracts, see if those can be renegotiated. A whole slew of options are on there. Problem is, those take some time to do. We want to be sure to come to you in a reasonable time frame with the appropriate data that we can stand behind and give to you and not come at you with guesses. That's not fair to you or the community.
Good with that.
So if those things take months, why are we asking for 2 years of deficit spending?
Some of those solutions require some election cycles. So in order for those, let's say you do approve certain initiatives to go through the election cycle. To ride us through to those years to actually see it come through would require that amount of time. So even if we do approve solutions, the impact of them won't be felt for at least a couple of years.
I understand what you're saying, Kevin, with the rooftops and all of the things. I guess in my opinion, I just see, I don't know if it's a lack of desire, but I guess I don't see any vision from staff. Maybe that's what, like, I know there's vision here and there's hopes and things that we feel like are going to come down the pipeline, and then we do our best to kind of navigate or mold those things into what would be successful for the community. And maybe that vision isn't getting transferred to staff, or maybe it's something that's more obscure to them. But Norco's unique and Norco's special, and because of that, we have to think outside the box. And I just feel like just the day-to-day things that I've asked to be done over the last few budget cycles just hasn't been done. And then to ask for folks to be visionary and think outside the box and come up with solutions that would work for our community, I just think have been non-existent. And so this process is incredibly frustrating to me, and I've gotten a few emails on things, and hopefully it'll get better over time. I don't know, but I understand that, like, revenue, let's say we're going to do the TOT as a ballot measure and it goes to folks, that takes time. But there's some stuff that doesn't take time. It takes a mindset change and I guess buying into what the council's trying to do and accomplish.
Totally agree. I've been here almost exactly 1 year, and I would like to take what I have gotten from my career, many years and many other cities that I've helped in similar situations. Norco is unique, and there are several other tools in our toolbox that we can exercise. Those solutions take time. And we have 30 days to adopt a budget.
So I get that, and I don't have a problem with that. What I have a problem with is being told year after year that we'll come forward with something or we're going to do something, and that something never comes. Does that make sense? And again, it's before you were here, right?
Yeah.
You're coming up on a year, yeah, because you walked into the budget last year.
Yeah.
Holy cow. So, you know, you've gotten the brunt of it a couple of years, and you're new. I get it. But I guess sitting up here, my frustration is that there hasn't been 100% staff changeover. We've had a lot of staff changeover, but I don't feel like there's forward progress. But I'm not asking you to do this all before we need to approve a budget. But if you can just keep it in the back of your head. Like, Robin doesn't like nonsense. Robin just likes straight talk, and if things are bad, like say, we're in a poo show right now, but we're going to do our best to fix it. So I guess that's two parts. Like, tell us the truth and then help us with the solutions. I think in the past it's just been like, everybody knows it's a poo show, but we're going to spray it and do all these things to make it not.
I don't do that. My philosophy has always been an open, transparent budget. As we go through these workshops, we go through the detailed notes. We've gone through several meetings with departments, drilling down to the gnat's eyebrow on their individual line items. More data and whatnot that has been done in years. In years past, possibly, yeah, you may have been given certain promises, but you're getting this promise from me. Part of my job as finance director is to provide those solutions to city manager and to council to balance that budget over time. I'm asking for is that faith and trust to move us forward.
One of the things that I do see, and I've been here a long time, Greg, you've been here a long time, the level of commitment and passion for the city at your level is unprecedented. And I really do believe that. I think that, yeah, I mean, I hear what Robin's saying, but I see the care that's being gone into some of the projects that we've been doing, like I say, the passion, that I'm seeing more passion than I really have seen in the past. Before, we were digging out of holes. I mean, basically, Andy Corey, we were digging out of holes. Now what we're trying to do is take Norco to the next level so that we can do, what we're doing is to continue to do the impossible and make it possible. But I'm pleased with what I'm seeing staff doing in a lot of ways, so I don't want to make sure that I throw everything out. I'm seeing a lot of care from you guys, and I really do appreciate it.
Mayor. Kevin, I just want to comment on something you said earlier, and this is just my own belief, that, you know, when you're talking about upcoming projects, whether it's apartments or other developers, that they're on the residential scheme of things, okay, that we get fat on developer fees. We have apartment complex or whatever, and then we have long-term demand on services. Residential projects like that are a long-term loser. And so it's like, I guess what I'm saying is I don't want you to tell me, and I respect what you do, Joshua, that, oh, we're going to have all these fees, you know, we're going to get this project, these development fees are going to come in, everything's great. Everything is great that day, but then demands for public safety, water, sewer, infrastructure, it kills you. It just eats you up in the long run. I'm agreeing with the mayor. I appreciate how you're looking at this and working on it, but you're going to have to make harder cuts. They're there. And I know it's not my job to point them out. I think you got some indication this afternoon is just go through every line item and question it. Really need to spend this on that. And then you have to look at, you know, your personnel structure. That, you know, we're always like small but mighty, but then there's areas where, and it's not, it's always concerned me, or I question that we'll have a superintendent, or we'll have a director, we'll have a superintendent, we'll have a supervisor, and there's 2 employees. How much supervision is necessary for 2 employees? And it seems like those are the things we need to focus on. That it's not in all cases either, but there's a few instances of that. And I don't want to belabor it. So.
Yeah, going back to, I asked a question about like the apartment fees, the impact fees that these apartments are going to be doing on us. We can actually think outside the bubble on that as well, which I'm not going to go into now. But that was something I asked Collins for, and then I asked has there been anything as far as legally we can do, because I know other cities do it, so we can have, you know, these apartments that are coming up, the ones we have now, are going to be a big drain on our fire, our police, everything. And it's like it's going to be its own mini city. In my opinion, it's not going to have the same impact as a house does. And have we got any leeway as far as that we can do it or we can't do it, or how much we can figure on? Because that would be, you know, that would be another avenue that we can go out to be a long-term income coming in.
So to answer the first part of your question is, yes, we have researched it. It is an allowable line item. So it's something that we can assess on future developments. What the number looks like is to be determined. The second part of the question is impact fees are one time.
Yeah.
And cannot be used for general operations. They can only be used to, essentially, as the name implies, is the impact of that development. So if that adds several thousand residents, more homes and whatnot, requires more police and fire resources such as trucks, vehicles, stations, so on and so forth. That's what the diff fees are intended for. So, so the impact of operational costs, because we have to hire more officers or whatnot, that can't be used by development impact fees.
I get the impact fees. The impacts are a one-time deal. But can we, and I'm just speak to me like I'm a kindergartner, I'm in layman terms, can we go ahead and say, okay, we are going to charge them a little bit more in our, call it whatever you like, you know, our water and sewer, or we can't do school fees because that won't even go to us. But at the same time, how can we get because those apartments that are down there and the future ones are gonna be a big strain. Pretty soon, law enforcement and fire are gonna say, hey, we need to be able to throw another fire truck in there. Well, we gotta be able to maintain the staffing for it. We gotta be able to maintain an extra officer to be able to go out and put in the field to help the extra load that those apartments going to cause. What long-term fees that we can apply to that? Is there any?
In general, when you get, let's say, a new apartment complex, the only thing you're going to get out of that is the population and the property taxes out of that. Those property taxes then fund the operational costs for the impact of that particular new segment of the community.
So can we attach a higher, we can do that, or we have to rely on the state to give us the same as we get with I'm trying to figure some way of collecting more money out of our apartments, because they're gonna be a big drain.
The impact fee will likely be higher than a normal residential home based on the cursory analysis, but don't want to give a final number because that's still being calculated. As far as the general property taxes, that's statutorily determined based on land value. I'm sorry, based on assessed value.
But you see where I'm going with it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Is there any way that you can get with Collins, and, because I talked to Collins about this, and that would be, it wouldn't be a shot in the arm, but it would be a lesser of a hole to dig ourselves out of. And it would be more beneficial to have our apartments out there, and because they're gonna be a big drain.
Yeah, totally agree. So, like, for example, if we were to collect enough impact fees to pay for fire truck, that way we don't have to take it out of other funding sources, so we can take it out of that funding source.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the short impact of, because as soon as we get the money, we spend it, it's gone.
Right.
5 years down the road, we gotta maintain that fire department, we gotta maintain those cops. And then we're gonna be coming back to Lizette here and say, okay, how are we gonna, what other cuts we're gonna make? But if we can figure some way, and I don't know how, because I'm not very smart at that, but if we can, you guys are, if we can figure some way of charging them a fee, and I'm trying to do my research on other cities that are, they claim they're doing, I've never seen it, so I can't say yay or nay. But there's got to be some way that we can collect money coming out of that that's not going to bury us in the future.
That can be researched and explored.
Yes,
Let's put it that way. Yeah.
So if you could do that,
Mhm.
that would be great.
Colby, you want to add anything?
I think the benefit, one of the benefits of our future apartment complexes that will be of affordable in nature typically, because we have to fill that population per our state obligations. Most of the revenues will likely come from sales tax, because you'll have 250 families. On one side of town, you'll have another 250 families on the other side of town. A lot of the sales tax, when you get on the borders, it'll split on the Corona side versus Norco side, just like it has in the other direction for 40 years. But if you're looking at long-term revenue, we'd have to look at CFDs. And you'd probably target it for new development, for new residents, for new units that would pay public safety services.
Because I like in Ukaipa. Ukaipa has a MET team, and that MET team is pretty much funded by all the mobile homes.
Yeah.
And they have a fee, and that's why I may be speaking out, but that's the way I was told, is our MET unit in Ukaipa was always paid for by our mobile home parks. 'Cause that a lot of stuff goes on there. So and when they go out, that's pretty much all they do is hit all the mobile home parks and areas. But I just want to make sure that we're, they're going to be a big drain. and having them there and, you know, sales tax and all that stuff's gonna be great. It's gonna be a big shot in the armors when it comes to that, but I wanna try to figure some way of, you know, now we can go to the people and say, hey, that's, we're getting its extra revenue. That's, you know, we don't have the rooftops over here, but we're getting it over here, not with just taxes, but we're getting with something else. And I look at everybody out here, and I mean, I think we have the A team. And what Robin's asking for is not, it's what we should, I feel we should be getting to. But with Lizette, and everybody, I think you guys are awesome. And we're asking, like Kevin said, we're asking you guys to do a lot. And I know you guys can do it. I think we got the A team, so that's all I got.
Explain the process of a CFD. Could you, how we would do that to implement that quickly?
Well, we'd have to come up with the district. You know, if you went citywide, it may not be palatable to apply a new rate onto current residents or property owners, but for new development, new residents, they'd be subject to that long-term annual fee. You can do it for police services, park services, and any other services that are eligible to be held in a CFD. And that's a way you can address our gaps of, you know, revenue and put it onto the future development and not put it onto the current residents. The thing with Norco is that it's somewhat built out, so there's not a lot of new future development to really capture. So, but it's something.
Thank you.
On that note, with Colby, that on the CFD, the proposed residential development we have at River and Bluff, we've talked about a CFD for public safety. To me, very simple, and along with LMD for landscape maintenance, basically a condition of approval. Okay, and that will be not borne by the entire city. It's going to be, you know, an assessment to that development. Why can't we move forward, even though there's a few projects coming down the road, residential, would you condition it to be in a CFD? Can we do that? Do we have, I mean.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we can do
I mean,
the
just
same.
right out of the gate.
Yeah, we can take that approach with the new development projects. The ones that are residential in nature, where you have 65 lots, like in the Lappy project, then you have 65 ratepayers.
Right, or I'm talking Second and River or Beacon Hill or whatever, and then let me ask myself the question, how come we didn't come up with this idea when we were battling it out with Frontier Homes?
That one may have came fast and furious. They sometimes do.
I'll only blame myself on that, okay? But, okay, we'll blame Kevin. But is there a time, I mean, can't we just say this is what we're gonna do with new projects forward?
Yeah, we need to do some homework on our side between
Okay.
finance and community development to talk about how citywide CFDs get structured and set up for public safety type services and things that are not actual infrastructure related investments where you'd have bonds and so forth. So, and of course, our city attorney's office will need to opine on that pathway as well.
So several different pathways could be happen with CFDs, because you can make it for new developments, existing area. We can separate the city into 5 different CFD zones. Each one has its own particular rate depending on life and whatnot, so they get particular rate depending on what we're charging for that CFD. Engineering reports have to be generated, so again, those ones take the time to formulate. What are the legal allowabilities of what costs can be into their timeframes? Sunset protocols given recent legislation. So these are the things we wanted to research, vet, and bring to you a actual plan that can be long-term. Otherwise, we're going to be kicking the can down the road for 5, 10 years, then we're back at it again.
I'll just add that there are very specific legal requirements for imposition of these. So as Joshua was saying, like the benefit has to inure to the properties that are part of that CFD, or, you know, you have to have the Nolan-Dolan nexus and meet all of the requirements that are, you know, that need to be met. So it does definitely take a little bit of planning and, you know, legal review of what the vision is and then how to get it implemented.
Well, my point being that if I want to build a 60-home residential development, the city has the right to say, okay, this is going to be under a public safety CFD.
I'll say this, in the state of California, it sort of depends on what type of what are you building? Is it discretionary? Are we under, like, where are we in the process and what does it look like? But yes, I would say that is not out of the question.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Adjourned, 7:23.